diocesan priest is you basically approach the vocation director of the diocese. But it's similar in a way. I mean, they don't just say, oh, yeah, come on, you know, I mean, they screen you. There's an application process, which is fairly thorough. They put you through a battery of psychological tests. They talk to you, they want to know about you. And then if they accept you, then you go to seminary and begin to study for the diocese. There's still a process going on where you're saying, okay, am I called to this? And they're seeing, okay, do we think it's called to this? You know,
Is that
Are you
4 years or what?
Yeah, are you required to have a bachelor's degree before you apply for it?
yeah, theology is a master's level thing. It just depends. If you go to college, seminary, then you've done the required philosophy and you get a bachelor's degree, of course. And then you have to do 4 years of theology. Myself, you know, I had a bachelor's, but it was in business. And so I didn't have the philosophy. So that tacked on a couple more years of philosophy. Plus, our diocese requires, not all do, but ours does, what they call a pastoral year, which just means that you're assigned to a parish in the diocese for a year, and you live there and work there. And it's kind of wise, I think, because you get more of an idea of what it's like.
Is that a 4-year ordained, like as a deacon or whatever?
It's before you're even a deacon.
Just get your feet wet, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, so when you say 4 years for the master's degree, it
8
takes
years.
4 years?
Well,
You don't want to be
really
a
get-
doctor,
you
is
get-
what I'm saying. They need to up y'all's level here.
You really get 2 master's degrees by
Okay,
the
that's what
time
I
you're
was.
done.
That's all I asked,
But
yeah.
no, it's not a doctor.
Yeah, but it makes sense, it's 2 masters, because I'm thinking 4 years. That's
Yeah, it's 8 years total. isn't it?
If you do college, seminary, and theology, yes. Plus
But-
pastoral year would make it 9.
But if you had a different bachelor's degree, it would be 4 years plus 2 more,
Of
plus
philosophy.
that,
Right.
Wow.
so 11 years. Wow.
That's a lot.
Well,
Could have been a doctor.
Saturday.
You could have been a doctor.
Kind of is.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a lot of school.
What we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's a lot of schooling, yes.
Yeah.
About 22
Healing
years
souls to
of
arms.
my life. Used to be half of it. I can say that.
Yeah. Well, I was counting your bachelor's degree on there, what they do.
Yeah, I was too.
Wow.
I think that's right. I think it's 22.
It amazes me, and it's happened in this area, for a young priest to go through all that education and then act as a priest for less than 5 years and decide that's not for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
We've seen
you
that
would,
happen.
as a lay person, I would think, geez, after all that education, you'd think they'd know by now. It just
Well,
amazes me
life
that
is
that
full of
happens.
surprises,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, you know, you would hope somebody is really discerning while they're in seminary as part of the purpose.
Yeah, that's what.
But, you know, people sometimes
Life happens.
don't necessarily, yeah, you know, it's the same way with married people, you know, they go through a lot and
Sure.
sometimes it doesn't pan out, you know, so.
That's true. Yeah, you listen to this.
I know, he looks at me.
Oh,
You okay?
Then, well, keep going with the priests. Sometimes we have associate priests, like what we talked about St. Anne's has had before, and they're there to support the pastor. But from my understanding, one is designated by the bishop to be the pastor over the parish, but they may have assistants under them if there's needed to be. And that's kind of how it works with John Paul II. There is one pastor that was appointed the pastor over the school by the bishop, even though they all supported because you do have to have one person in charge, because otherwise there could be chaos. So it's just kind of a chain of command. A Monsignor is an honorary title. Again, it's given by the Pope to the priest. And I don't hear that one as much nowadays. Is it just because I haven't heard, or do they still give that title as often?
Monsignor.
Yeah. We don't around, we've
When I
had
was
some around
growing
here,
up,
but
we
I
had
really
one,
don't.
we had Monsignor Higgins. And
Yes.
he was always at Sacred Heart.
Yes,
Monsignor Higgins.
yes.
Monsignor, didn't Father Hill become
Yes,
a
he's
Monsignor?
Yes,
Who was?
yes,
Father Hill, Monsignor Hill.
Yes, he was.
the
Yes,
pastor here.
I don't hear that as often.
There's still,
I remember him.
Bernard Powers is a
That's
Monsignor,
exactly
he's still alive.
Oh, okay. I did not know he was a Monsignor.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the pastor here? Did you say there's one in charge of every parish church?
He's the,
Okay.
he's considered the
Oh,
pastor,
Pastor.
pastor, yeah.
Yes.
You'll hear that slash
It's
because some of
confusing to
them.
people that aren't Catholic.
He may have,
Yes. Yeah.
she may have been thinking about who was the pastor over John Paul II
No.
school.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I
Yeah,
should hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he can be a priest, but then a pastor is when you're put over a church, that title comes with it, okay? Because then the priest could, if you're not over a church, you're the associate pastor and so forth. That's how that title goes.
Gotcha.
Because I agree, I think it gets confusing, because you hear other churches calling them their pastor. And then you hear it in ours, and I'm like, it's not necessarily, I really never knew the distinction.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's not really.
in the Catholic Church, the pastor is a priest,
Right.
always.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will occasionally, because that maybe they don't have enough priests, some places you might find someone who is administrating a parish, who is not a
Okay,
priest.
I guess that's kind
but
of
they're
what I
not
was
past-
thinking,
They're not
right.
given the title pastor.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
It's like a square is a rectangle and a rectangle.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
You can talk over quadrilaterals. Oh, Clay, you know.
Well, it'll make more sense maybe when we talk about the sacrament of holy orders,
Okay.
to put it real succinctly. Well, it's all the priesthood of Jesus Christ, who is the high priest.
Mhm.
However, he passed that on to the apostles, who, as she said, were the first bishops. And, but a bishop can't be, like we have 79 parishes, he can't be in 79 parishes.
right.
So he has to appoint a delegate to act in his name in those parishes. That's the pastor. Technically, though, we participate in his priesthood.
Okay.
There's kind of degrees of the sacrament of holy order. There's deacon, there's priest, and there's bishop, and you're ordained each time.
Mhm.
Only the bishop really has the complete, the fullness of the sacrament.
Because
So-
of doing the two other sacraments, the ordaining of the priest and confirmation.
Well, because he's ordained a bishop.
Okay.
But yeah, he's the only one who can ordain other priests, yes.
Do they get to choose, like, I want to become a bishop, or are they chosen to?
That comes from the Vatican. You're asked.
I feel like the Vatican has a lot of work.
Why he's got to carry
Everything. Yeah.
How's the Vatican supposed to know who should be a bishop and Owensboro?
Right, that's my.
Well, they've got their ways. Actually, each bishop is asked to, I think it's every 2 or 3 years, submit a list of names of priests in his diocese who he deems to be, might make a good bishop.
Oh, so he like recommends people.
And the bishop actually sends out to us priests saying, well, who do you think? And we got somebody. We sent it in.
You nominate yourself?
No.
Is that frowned upon?
I don't know, but I ain't looking for them. That's all I can do.
Most bishops, they don't remain where they're from.
Most of the time, not.
So usually our bishop is from someone outside of our diocese. Is that what you're saying?
Usually, but that's not always the case either.
Okay. So our bishop could be anyone from anywhere in the United States? Is it limited to the United States?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
See Bishop Senator, he was from Minnesota or,
Bishop McRae is from Minnesota too.
yeah, well, okay. I can't remember, but I was thinking Bishop Senator was from, I can't remember where
Yeah.
Bishop Cotton was from. He was our first bishop here, and he was Bishop Senator. You know,
And then, as Father mentioned, we have deacons, and they are ordained members of clergy. They can baptize, they can witness marriages, they can perform funeral services outside of Mass, they can distribute Holy Communion. Remember, we talked about it being in the tabernacle already, so they can distribute Holy Communion. They can preach the homily, and they're obligated to pray the divine office each day.
Right.
We have transitional deacons. That's the one studying to become a priest. They serve as a deacon for a year, roughly a year, and then they become ordained priests. You have some that are your permanent deacons, and I find this interesting because they're the only ordained clergy that I could know. That if they become a deacon after they are married, they can remain married. But if their wife dies, they cannot remarry. If I become a deacon and I'm not married, I cannot get married.
Correct.
So I thought that was, like, dang, they thought that rule through.
That's kind
Are there female weekends?
No.
Why?
Because that is part of the sacrament of holy orders, and that's reserved to men.
They can't be
There's
free.
actually a reason for that.
No, they can't be.
Please.
Yeah. They do pastoral works of charity, they assist in liturgical functions, they can help run the parish, do things for the priest and so forth. You have the religious, it's an institute or order, you'll see that term, it's vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. A sister is a woman of a religious order. It's a generic term. And I gave some examples. And then I thought this was interesting, a nun, because we always joke about the nuns that taught in Catholic schools and how they treated us. Nuns generally reside in a convent, and they're in a closed order, and they have limited contact with the world. So really, the nuns probably are not who taught us. They were sisters. But yeah, we
call
say,
them nuns.
yeah. I mean, we called them because I remember I had Sister Mary Ann, Sister Rita, so we called them sisters. But you talk about the nuns in the school and all the mean things they did to us. And I say that as a teacher because all teachers are mean, no matter if you have that title or not. But to me, that was a big distinction for me, a big aha moment, was that the nuns are really the ones that are
Live a monastic life, right?
I didn't
Cloistered.
think there was a difference.
yeah.
I didn't either.
I didn't, we always called them nuns,
Yeah.
all the sisters at the convent married.
If they
I
wore
really
a
thought they
habit.
were interchangeable terms, that if
Yeah.
there wasn't a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it would, I mean,
Same thing.
but
If they
there
wore
is
a
a
habit,
difference.
they were a nun. If they wore the
Not
garb.
necessarily.
I mean,
Yeah.
Really?
that's.
We always thought,
Yeah.
Okay.
A brother is a non-ordained member of the religious order of men. And you have monks, and a monk can be a brother or a priest. They're usually a community of men together, and I listed some examples there. You have the friar, which is, I really don't understand that one.
That's just what some members of religious orders call themselves.
Okay.
Franciscans, for example, are friars. Dominicans are friars.
So it's just where they use the Latin word for it? I mean, why would they add that title? Is it just a choice?
I'm not really sure. I have to kind of look into that myself.
Father, I was just thinking,